Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Now that it's 2, I think some folks will continue to trickle in, but want to keep everybody on schedule and agenda here. So I just wanted to welcome you all to this webinar. My name is Katie Caskey, and I am the Transportation Strategic Communications Director with HDR, and I am the chair of the CTS Education and Engagement Council. And today's webinar is sponsored by our council, and just a little bit of background on the councils for those that may be less familiar with them. The councils are kind of a way to provide a forum for transportation professionals and researchers to exchange information on current transportation issues and challenges and trends. They bring together university faculty and staff with transportation practitioners from both the public and private sector and help kind of set the direction or recommend a direction for kind of continued research and exploration within the transportation industry and specifically CTS's research, education, and engagement activities. So I think Sam, if she hasn't already, is going to put the chat or the link to the councils in the chat if you want to learn more about the CTS councils. And so today our webinar topic is a presentation about the expanding the transportation workforce activity. And I'll share more on that in a moment. But first I'm going to turn it over to Amber, who is the vice chair of the council and kind of co-facilitating this webinar with me to walk through some housekeeping items and to introduce herself.
Great, thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. I'm Amber Cameron, and I'm at the University of Minnesota in the Office for Public Engagement. And as Katie mentioned, I am serving as her support, her number 2 as vice chair for the Engagement and Education Council. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started today. We're really hoping that this can be a dynamic conversation today. I'm looking forward to audience participation. That will happen during the Q&A time, which follows the presentation. So we encourage you to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen at any time to type questions or comments for the speakers. And during the Q&A time after the presentation, you can use the raise hand feature if you prefer, and we can unmute you and you can ask your question verbally, or you can put it in the chat, as we mentioned, in the Q&A function. Also, for some of you who are attending this webinar to receive credit, this event meets the continuing education requirements for 1.5 professional development hour credits and 1.5 American Institute of Certified Planners certification maintenance credits. The PDH form will be uploaded to the chat for anyone who needs that. Also, just to preview a couple of things coming up, there's a webinar tomorrow if you just can't get enough this week. So tomorrow, December 6th, the webinar is Unlocking Autonomous Transportation Potential, Key Insights from the Go Marty Shuttle. And there's information there on the slide, how to register for that webinar. And then also, if there are any students who are joining, oh, and thanks, Sam. Sam put the link in the chat as well. And then finally, if there are any students joining us today, we really try to keep track of the number of students who are attending these events. So if you wouldn't mind to send a chat to all panelists with your name, that will help us track that data. With that, I'll turn it back over to Katie. Thanks.
Thanks, Amber. Just a couple more notes about kind of what you're about to hear before we dive in. First, I just want to note that James and Sam from CTS are on helping kind of facilitate and support this event. So they are monitoring the chat and the Q&A and helping to advance slides and kind of make sure everything moves forward here. So just a thanks and a shout out to them. And so a little bit more on today's webinar before we turn it over to the speakers. The kind of background of this is that recruiting and retaining transportation maintenance workers is an ongoing and increasing challenge. And a recently completed project sponsored by the Minnesota Local Road Research Board seeks to address this by providing easily accessible tools that local agencies can use to help recruit and retain maintenance professionals. So a new website, mntransportationcareers.com, serves as a portal for job seekers, public works managers, human resource departments, employment counselors, and others. And it includes accessible and shareable videos, brochures, training guide, job board, case studies, and other resources. So with that, I am pleased to welcome today's presenters who are going to share a lot more about that project and that resource. John Sigelvin is a communications director at CTS, and is in his role, he leads a communications team in planning and implementing strategies that advance the center's mission to increase the visibility and impact of its work. John also serves as the center's leadership team, helping to guide all aspects of its operations. So welcome, John. And Catherine Stanley is a senior manager of training and technical assistance at CTS. In this role, she oversees planning and delivery of training and technical assistance, stakeholder engagement, workforce development, and activities for a variety of transportation stakeholders. So welcome, Catherine, and I'm going to turn it over to you two to take it from here. Thank you.
To unmute myself first. Well, thank you, Katie and Amber, for such a great introduction. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. As Katie introduced us, I am Catherine Stanley. I'm just going to share my screen here before I forget. So there you go. So I was the project principal investigator, and John, he was principal investigator on this project. You know, we've all seen the headlines, research studies, and industry groups focusing on a variety of workforce development strategies. FHWA has the Strategic Workforce Development Program, APWA has developed the toolkit, and the Transportation Research Board is bringing back the Workforce Development Summit. All of these efforts are a great way to provide resources and awareness to careers within the transportation agency. At the same time, it can be overwhelming and not always seem relevant to smaller agencies with limited personnel and resources. This is where we come in. So today we'll be going over the project background, the final roadway maintenance resource products, and we're also going to be highlighting additional products that were developed to address expanding the transportation workforce. And as previously mentioned, we will be following up with questions Q&A. So this project was a partnership between the Local Road Research Board, the Center for Transportation Studies, and the Minnesota Local Technical Assistance Program. The Local Road Research Board was established in 1959. The board is comprised of transportation practitioners who are responsible for county highways and city streets because they best understand the problems and challenges in providing safe, efficient roadways. Research sponsored by the LRB helps to improve the quality of Minnesota's transportation systems, and the impact of this research multiplies as more and more engineers see potential applications through the technology transfer efforts of LRB's Research Implementation Committee. The Center for Transportation Studies has a mission to cultivate improvements and innovation in transportation through research, engagement, and education. And the Minnesota Local Technical Assistance Program is all about improving local agency skill and sharing transportation knowledge, innovation, and best practices. We are part of a network of LTAP centers nationwide to support county, city, township, and tribal personnel. In addition to serving the local agencies, state transportation departments, industry, contractors, and consultants also use our resources. So more about the project. This was the second funded Local Road Research Board project addressing expanded transportation workforce. This project was completed in September with a July webinar to launch the products. There are three major goals for this project. One is to help local agencies fill open positions. Second is short-term, to recruit, retain, and retrain current workforce. And third is a long-term goal to help promote local agency career opportunities. Before we decided on the final direction of the products, we conducted 4 focus groups. One was with local agency human resource personnel. The second was with high school students. The third were adults with commercial driver's licenses, but did not currently work for local agencies. And the fourth were job seekers. Each focus group informed the project team on the best messaging and approach to each audience. This entire project was guided by our technical advisory board. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of our TAP members who represented city and counties from across the state. Based on the focus groups and the TAP feedback, we developed a comprehensive website, mntransportationcareers.com. This website contains targeted information for specific audiences, career videos, a job and internship board, training resource guide, case studies, and downloadable brochures. Now I'm going to hand it off to John to provide a guided tour of these elements.
Sorry. Thanks, Catherine. Let me share the screen again there, make sure that you can see it. Can everybody see the website there?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm taking you, I get the fun part of the presentation this afternoon. I love being a tour guide. I get to do a virtual tour here of our website, mntransportationcareers.com. And as Catherine mentioned, we assembled this after conducting these focus groups and hearing directly from these different stakeholder groups. So HR professionals, job seekers, people entering the workforce, maybe for the first time, maybe re-entering the workforce. We talked to a number of different job seekers. And then adults with CDL or commercial driver's licenses who are working in the private sector or another area, not at a local agency. And then we talked with students as well. I had a group of them that we worked with one of our research scholars at the university and her students to help facilitate that focus group very closely with some high schoolers. So this is the homepage. When you enter the URL or click through from a link from one of our emails or our social media posts, you go from mntransportationcareers.com to this page. It orients you within that Minnesota Local Technical Assistance Program website, which is a real advantage of this site and this program, as we can leverage the long-standing resources of LTAP, that's the acronym there, for sharing this information through our 5,000 person print newsletter or our thousands of people who subscribe to our e-newsletters that we send every other week, or the thousands of followers we have on social media. We can just kind of fold this resource into our promotional program of that program of LTAP. So arriving at the website, then you're here, and there's some real basic navigation pieces here from the homepage. So if you are a part of that student group, you can come into the student portal, the job seeker portal, the HR pro portal, and then we have some of these other tools here, or links to other tools, I should say, that are on both the homepage and throughout these the pages inside. So let's take a look at why we start with students. So if I'm a person working with a student, or I'm a student and I'm looking for some resources for looking to learn more about transportation careers and maintenance with local agencies, go ahead and click that. And all of these pages are held together with the same branded banner up here on top. So that's wayfinding. You know where you are within the LTAP website. So here's the student section, and we tailor the language and our approach based on what we heard from those focus groups and what we heard from students, which was different, of course, than HR pros or in many cases, job seekers, was as they're entering the workforce, they're interested in opportunity and they're interested in technology. They want, what we heard from them is that they wanted to be in careers where they know that they're going to be challenged, they're going to be in a contemporary environment. So we really look to focus on those types of things in our pitch, so to speak, for them on this page. As we scroll down here, you'll see these buttons on top. This is a convention on all the pages. They'll lead back to those other areas that I'll get to in a minute. But we start with the opening here, give some real basic top line information about the benefits of careers in transportation maintenance. And then we've got a series of videos that will link throughout the site. They're also on a playlist on our YouTube channel and a playlist here within this web environment of different sort of slices of what transportation maintenance careers are like. This particular one focuses on using drones for bridge inspections. And so that was the one that was really a good one that would be tailored to students based on what we heard from them and their interest in technology and upcoming innovations in this field. So as you scroll through this page, just a real quick top level tour here. we're getting into some of the things here. So benefits on top, then looking, new tech and approaches, and then career development is this next section. And as we go through, there's links to different programs, different resources, both within and outside of mntransportationcareers.com that would be related to these areas. So for instance, we did a feature through LTAP of a young person who was starting out his career in transportation maintenance. We did a profile of him for a different project, but we were able to leverage that and then link through it for this content here. And then finally, there's just next steps. So really, really breaking it down into basic pieces, easy wayfinding to move into those areas that people might be interested, different areas people might be interested as they go. Another thing common to the students, HR professionals, and job seekers areas is this downloadable brochure. So this we've tailored this, again, using the content from the focus groups to address those things that the people in those cohorts are most interested in. And we've translated the career brochures into English, Spanish, Hmong, and Somali. And so they're available here to just pop open. Let's see if the screen share follows me here. Did it follow me or no? Yeah, okay. So here's a easy to print or distribute PDF brochure here. This one is in Spanish for students. And it works along with this website to bring people back to the resources here, whether it's the videos, the job board that I'll show you in a minute, or the training guide that we have at mntransportationcareers.com. And so these are easy for public works personnel, for HR professionals to, excuse me a sec. Easy for them to go ahead and print off and share. Sorry, I lost my way. 1 second. Catherine, when I get back on track here, do you want to take a second to maybe talk a little bit more about the group that we worked with at the university to do the focus groups, or?
Sure. So the groups we worked with, their college students, they're fourth-year students, and we felt since we're going to be interviewing high school students, it would be a really great opportunity for not only the college students, but the high school students to convene together. So in order for them to really facilitate this project, we had them go to City of Golden Valley's Public Works Department, and they went on an extensive tour, and they really were able to learn what a maintenance worker does. And so they were better able to communicate with the high school students and formulate their questions.
Thanks, Catherine. Hold up back so you can see the student section again here.
Yes.
Sorry about the fumble there. So as this banner will always take you back to the sort of landing page there. So we looked at the student section. Let's just take a quick look at the HR pros section. So this is tailored for human resources professionals. And then those focus groups, we learned some, their interest is we're having difficulty recruiting and retaining personnel in this area. What are we, help us? And one of the things that we heard from them over and over was, when we're getting applicants for these positions, they're coming in and they're really focused on that hourly wage or the pay. And what the challenge is for local agencies is the benefits of working for a county, city, township, or tribe are broader than the wage. So the wage can be fairly competitive, but really what makes the jobs distinct and the real selling point for these professionals is the benefits, the opportunities for work-life balance. So for instance, compared to an over-the-road trucking job where you may be away from home for days on end and unable to see your family and being active in your community, this is something that we can pitch and really sell as HR professionals and public works departments to to job seekers and to others who are looking for this careers in this area. So that's why we've built this page around those sorts of things. The video on this page, it'll look very similar. The layout's the same as the student page, but the video is different. This is an overview that really gives an HR professional at a glance version or view of what opportunities exist across this sort of field. Then we've got the same thing. We've got a brochure here, easy to print in multiple languages and distribute in person to those who are interested. And then some just tips and tricks that we learned along the way. that we heard. You know, how do I, when I sound like the government and I'm trying to have people to pitch these jobs to people, and it's sounding like very boring and staid and complicated, how do I kind of cut through that to pitch the job? So we talked about that. And then a surprising little factoid here that came up again and again was, for those of us who've worked in public service or government, a lot of what we'll hear in our engagement surveys and things like that is a top reason for working in the public sector is that feeling of giving back and serving the community. But for these applicants who are coming in the door, that did not resonate with them at all, is what we learned from the HR pros. So we just have a little call out here explaining, you know, this may sell for people who have been working in agencies for a while, but for the newbies on the outside, it's really not resonating. So trying to give that tailored message based on what we heard from the HR professionals in those focus groups. Down the bottom of this page is a link back to that other program that Catherine alluded to that we did a couple of years ago, focused strictly on the civil engineering careers. So kind of a parallel program to this, but really looking to develop civil engineers. So just a link there for those HR pros that would want to see that as well. So I mentioned earlier that we've got these different sections here, and we'll just, the job seeker section is similar to students and HR pros, but we'll just, in the interest of time, move on to some of these other resources. So why don't we start with this one? So this is linked through all of the pages here, but it's the job and internship postings. So we've initiated a new job board through this site, which we can promote to our LTAP communication, so that 5,000 strong subscriber print newsletter or our biweekly emails that we send and our social media channels to encourage local agencies to send us job postings so that we can share those here as part of this one-stop resource for people who are looking for these careers in Minnesota. And so a real simple 1-minute form that we ask, you know, an HR pro or a public works person or even an intern to fill out in an HR department to just send us your job title, send us the posting, the link to your website, send us your agency name and the closing date. Less than a minute, submit that, and we'll add that to the job board. And we're getting, we weren't sure really what to expect from this, but we're getting a couple of jobs per week, and it's been consistent since we launched this in early July. So thanks to everyone who's engaging with us on this, we're able to really keep this resource up and have it be robust so that when people are using it more and more, they can see that this really is kind of a good state of play, so to speak, for what jobs are available in local agencies. So you can see here we've got some current ones at cities, at counties, across the state. We've got a couple of opportunities for interns here through MnDOT. We include internship opportunities as well. And then we've got at the bottom of the table here are links that are curated and also sorted to other resources where people can find these types of positions. So whether it's the League of Cities, whether it's the Association of Minnesota Counties, APWA, Street Superintendents Association, even Metro Transit or MnDOT, those are here too, just guiding people right into those job opening resources. So then we'll go back to the homepage and back to some of these other pieces here. So the training guide. So this is more on a lot. I've been talking a lot about the recruitment side, but this is really on the retention side. So once we've got folks in the door, how do we keep them? How do we continue to develop these folks into careers where they can move on either a technical track or move into a supervisory track? And we've got those curated resources here in this page. So really easy for somebody to click through in one of these areas that they might be interested in developing, and then just jump down into some opportunities for training year-round here, both virtual and in person, in these different areas. So you can see here under winter operations, we've got snowplow operations, and you can easily open up these expanders here to see what those are. So regular workshops through MnDOT's, Clear Roads training. We've got a lot of LTAP trainings themselves through these, but not only LTAP. So we're using all of our partner trainings and using this as an opportunity to help, whether it's the supervisor with the public works department that's trying to get a junior member some new skills, to get people themselves to look at what opportunities might be there for me, to get those HR pros for thinking about how do we track people into careers and retain them at our agencies. All of those are here on the job, or excuse me, on the training resource guide. So then we've got the videos, and you saw a couple of those embedded in the pages for students and HR pros, but here's a page that has all of those videos, easy to get, and a vision or a version of it for social media, easy to share there for agencies to go ahead and take this and post that on their own Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, what have you, and just leverage that. I should say that these videos, this was a happy coincidence or kismet in that we had another project that LRB was working with students from Century College who were doing this work directly for them. And talking with the technical advisory panel, we made this connection that this parallel project was going on. We had scoped doing some videos as part of this project early on, but then we found, oh, this is going to meet our needs just to share these. So we kind of came together at a similar time, and they were able to launch that video project, and we were able to leverage those here into this site. And there's a link here to a full playlist of those videos back to the LLRB site as well. And here's that project for people who are interested in that. And then finally, we've got a video linked on this page from our kickoff webinar that we did back in July 9th with our technical liaison lead, Mark Ray from the city of Burnsville. Very similar to this for anybody who would want to kind of get a quick snapshot, 30 minutes of what this, how this program works. So that's our videos. And then finally, we've got case studies. So here is from those cities and counties that have done different types of creative approaches for recruitment and retention of maintenance professionals, or frankly, folks just in their agencies, whether in public works and in some cases beyond. So we've got a maintenance trainee program here that was shared with the city of Eagan. We do a summary of that, quick, easy to read, and then a jump to the resources back at home base there at Eagan. Or in this case, we had the city of Hopkins, so advancing careers and employment. That's where Jacob, that profile that we had there on the student page, Jacob is at City of Hopkins. But we've got a program that they're working through here for youth and some of the ways that they're working to develop people. Then we've got, and this is ongoing, the part of the message here today is if you've got resources or any of this is resonant with you, if you've got a job posting today, if you've got a case study, a friend in an agency, if you're working in an agency, you know somebody who's got a great story to tell, please let us know, because we want this resource to continue growing through the LTAP program as we continue with this into the future. But so speaking of which, last year at a conference, I ran into a former colleague, Deputy Public Works Director Jerry Auger at Anoka County, and he shared with me a program that they've been developing to get into high schools and really work with the staff there to make these partnerships in education to help track people and just acclimate them. And Jerry and his team go into to schools in Anoka County and adjacent counties even, and sell and talk about all the benefits of working in public works. So eager to hear any more case studies anyone has so we can share those to the site. So that's the quick sort of nickel tour of the site here. What we found since we launched this, and I'm going to stop sharing now. What we found since we launched this is that the leveraging the LTAP program to really continue to emphasize this has been a real benefit. And we've seen LTAP is a very popular website of the websites we manage at CTS. What we've seen is in the months that since we've launched this, we've had 3,000 visitors, and it's making up a significant share of our overall LTAP traffic, which is pretty strong, generally speaking, in this field. And so we're really happy to see that it didn't fall off right after the intro. It's continued to be steady as those job postings have come in, and we've been able to continue to promote this. And we do promote it, as I mentioned a few times, through our LTAP newsletter, e-newsletter, social media, and then through our partners as well. So we'll work with our friends at MnDOT Research and Innovation and with those associations that I called out there on the job board to help continue to promote this and push this. And thanks to all of you who might be on the webinar today who've helped us to promote that, and another ask to help us promote it going forward. So thank you. Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, great. As John mentioned, this is a continuous ongoing feedback loop in order to keep everything relevant and out there. So, and finally here, as we previously mentioned, this is the second LRB funded research project focusing on the topic of expanding expanding the transportation workforce. This first project was completed in 2021, and it focused on civil engineering technicians. So these products were developed, the products that were developed for this project are the local agency career brochure. And this brochure highlights all careers within local agencies. There is a community outreach and communication guide, and along with that is a supplemental Excel spreadsheet of activities that are geared towards middle schooler and high school students. There's a recruitment toolkit, and there's also a training roadmap for civil technicians that's similar, but it's more of an Excel sheet. So it's not a web-based tool, but it's a downloadable that you can customize. And there's also a supplemental user guide that will give tips and tricks to supervisors and employees on how to have those conversations about career development. So it's more of a guided conversation for those that are maybe newer to the workforce development conversations. All these resources are available on our website, on the Minnesota LTAP website, and they're all free. So I encourage everyone just to go look those up and download them. And we give people files, so if you wanted to modify them in any ways you see fit. And that's all our presentation. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Great. Well, thank you both for that presentation. And I do see a couple of questions coming in to the Q&A. So I just remind everybody, if you do have questions, to send them in that way. But thank you, Catherine and John, for the presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Amber to kind of facilitate a Q&A from here.
Great, thanks, Katie. So in the chat, there are two related questions. What are your thoughts on how to specifically target female and gender expansive candidates for trade careers? And related, what are the things that you have, if you've found this through the project, what are things that employers need to focus on when looking to attract females and gender expansive candidates to transportation careers?
I'm happy to start with that, Catherine, if you want to just follow up. So when we were designing our focus groups and questions around that, this was an area that we really did focus on, was looking, the public works field, frankly, has just been very male, very white for a long time. And as this generation of workers really go through this wave of retirements, there is that opportunity to expand who is the folks who are looking to find jobs in these fields. So we spent some time in our focus groups, especially with the HR professionals, asking about this, which was what can we do? How do we do this? And unfortunately, and Catherine, please share with me your thoughts, but we didn't hear in that, in my opinion, any sort of secret sauce, other than to really, speak in language and in visuals and presentations that are welcoming, not to be arrogant, not to be overly technical, just basically for all audiences. And so that was some of the foundation. But I appreciate anyone else on the webinar who has those thoughts and can help to share some of those. If you've learned anything in that area, happy to incorporate that.
Yeah, we didn't get too specific with the questions targeting specific groups. But as John mentioned, we made sure that when we were selecting the participants for the focus groups, that we had a mixture of different genders and different ethnic backgrounds, and we try to make it as a diverse pool as we could, because we had a small number, and we want to make sure regionally that we had people from around the state. So we didn't want to have everyone on there from the metro. We really wanted to get outstate Minnesota as well. We wanted their perspectives from it. And so I don't have too much advice besides probably working with community agencies within your community. I mean, there's so many great nonprofits that really they specialize in working with certain populations, and that would probably be one of the better places to start. And when it comes to the employers, I think depending on their size, there's limited resources, and I think their goal is really to cast a wide net. And so they're not intentionally trying to target certain populations, especially when it is only the one HR person, which is very common when you get to the smaller agencies. So I would say start with some of those nonprofits within your community and see what they're doing within certain populations.
Great. Another question, or something to review. Could you review the information on the web page that's specific to the workforce development system? This could include flyers or outreach toolkits for youth and adults.
So I think I'm interpreting that as
And
what,
Marie, if you're on and you want to unmute, you can raise your hand and we can make you live if that's easier. But go ahead, John. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh, I see that Maria's raised her hand.
Oh, great.
Hello.
Perfect.
Hi,
Hi,
Marie.
Marie, we can hear you.
Oh, I don't know. Hello. Hi there. I was not sure if I was on. Okay.
Do you want to, do you mind clarifying your question a little bit? Can you hear me, Marie?
Oh yeah, you know what? I apologize. I was a little, this might be going out a bit. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep. We may have lost
Okay.
you. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm still here. All right. I just wanted to confirm you could hear me. Yeah. So when I was kind of intrigued by in this I'm hearing you telling about having some outreach guides for that you were referring to back in that 2021 work
Mhm.
and in the area of right of like civil engineering and civil careers. I was just curious, like I'm hearing Catherine talk a little bit about outreach to the nonprofits, like do you have or were there recommendations that you were providing like to HR professionals? I guess that was kind of my question, right? Like if you have HR in the room, are you providing them with information on how they can get assistance from local economic development organizations in workforce development or in locating employees? And or maybe on the reverse, are you then providing any of that information to workforce development programs that are looking to try to make connections with these employers that need employees?
Yeah, so in the recruitment toolkit from the 2021 project, we're encouraging them to connect with our local career force centers and provide them with other information from Deed. So we're getting the word out there that
Okay,
there
so
are.
and that was from the 2021 project, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
If I may,
Yeah,
I
we're
can
encouraging them
here.
to make those connections within their region.
Should I
And
quick
then
share
I know
the
I have
screen?
spoke. Oh, sorry, John.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Catherine, but
Oh.
just maybe I can quick share the screen there and show what this isn't the focus of this webinar, but it's certainly related. Looking at the website we have there that's linked over from mntransportationcareers.com on that earlier project. So here's all of the resources that are available on that website, still linked through mntransportationcareers.com to sort of get at some of those things that Marie was asking about. So sort of the community outreach and communication guides and some of the pieces on the recruitment toolkit are located through there.
Yep.
And then just relative to our project, one thought is that workforce centers or with folks indeed who are working with job seekers is one of our major motivations here was to provide materials that are easy to access, easy to share, and easy to print and distribute at workforce centers or job fairs, other things like that. And that's where we have those specific brochures that are available in 4 languages each for students, HR pros, and for job seekers.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense, and I will definitely take a deeper look at that. I was wondering if one last just quick question is, are you then working with the Transportation Center for Excellence out of Minnesota State?
Yes, so through Minnesota LTAP, we do have connections with them. And so we are always staying in contact of what's going on. And then we also work with other industry associations as well. Minnesota LTAP is guided by a steering committee that's made up of reps from different associations, just to make sure that our programming is staying relevant to their needs, the whole industry as a whole.
Okay, Catherine, I'm probably going to be emailing with you all because
Okay.
we had some questions come in, yeah, from our
Yeah.
Workforce Development
Okay.
Board on this very topic. So, yeah,
We do-
I'll get in touch with you all.
We do work pretty much with the public sector. So when it comes to the private side, that one we're a little bit more removed from. But, you know, these certainly, it's, you know, it affects all of us. So lots of similar programs.
Great. Another question has come in around what are the ways that candidates find this website? And do you all have data on how people are being brought to the website and what is the most effective way to bring them in? Relatedly, around communication, another question came in around the appreciate the print materials. Also wondering if there's social media effort going on for this project.
Yeah.
So we're all about kind of communication. Yeah.
Thanks, Amber. Yeah. So what we're finding so far is that most of the people who are coming to the site is after we're issuing electronic communications, or whether that be an e-newsletter or one of our partners posts something about the site, or we do a social media post on our LinkedIn, or that gets shared, that the vast majority of people are coming in that way to get to our site. So we're also promoting it in our print publications, and as we talked about there, the brochures. But really, it's the sharing of those links and bringing people right into here, which is how we've sort of designed the site. So it really is built in a way for sort of these wayfinding, bite-sized pieces, moving information quickly based on what we heard from those focus groups, getting people in those various cohorts into the information that they're most interested in, and then growing it out from there. So just to answer the question, it is, yes, it's that those e-newsletters, and we appreciate anyone who can help us to continue to share this. LTAP is kind of the heart of that. LTAP has a lot of strong partnerships with associations and workforce, all kinds of associations throughout the state. And so anytime that we can leverage those relationships and get a blurb in someone else's newsletter, or in the MnDOT internal newsletter or something like that, we'll always see a spike of traffic to the site after that. And then as relative to the ongoing social media effort, we knew through this project, which was time limited at the end of July, that we wanted to do everything we could to continue, or excuse me, August is when it was officially closed, right? The project was. But we wanted to continue with the efforts here on that. And so what part of our approach was to build into the site, you know, the tools that could help others do that. So on the social media side, we've got that video that's linked and built for social media, easy for people to grab and share. And then certainly anything else that's on there, that whether it's the job board, a particular case study, all of the case studies, those are sort of pre-packaged and ready to be shared on social media. So we'll continue doing that through CTS to our transportation audiences of local, you know, folks who work at local agencies, folks who work at MnDOT, folks who work in private industry related to transportation, all of those folks. But that's where we really need those partnerships and amplification for others to help share the social type messaging, which is kind of how we designed and built this with that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Great. I think if people have other questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand and we can unmute you. I think Katie, you had a couple of questions.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions I can ask, but to Amber's point, if others have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And but John and Catherine, one of my questions for you was just, you know, as you were working on this project, I'd be curious kind of what was like was there any kind of like big aha moment or kind of just, you know, finding or piece of information that really stuck with you as you worked on this project? I'd be kind of curious to know kind of what were those topics or moments for you.
Yeah, well, for me, it was early on the project when we were with the TAP, the Technical Advisory Panel, and they were really adamant on they didn't want anything printed. They're like, it has to be electronic, it has to be web-based. They're like, we can't keep up when things are out of date. Like they were really like that we and like half of our proposal was we're gonna do these printed, like, because we didn't know. So we had like our proposal was like sky's the limit. Like we don't know what it's gonna be, but we have to make sure there's a budget for it. And so that was one big takeaway for me was like they did not want printed. So that really kind of pivoted how we were thinking about things. And then the feedback from the focus groups really solidified the need to have a central place where everyone can go and grab the same information. Only one person has to update it. That would be, Minnesota LTAP would update it. And they don't have to worry about if the information is current or not. I don't know about you, John, but you're.
Yeah, for my part, it was in those focus groups. So we sat in on the focus groups that were, we worked with a partner agency at the university who specializes in this to help to shape and analyze the focus groups. But there were takeaways in each of them, and one of them was that, having worked in both the public and private sector, and having observed that in the private sector and at the university, there, when we do engagement surveys, people are always very one of the top reasons that they continue to work in the public sector is this idea of serving the community. And to hear the HR professionals saying that is not selling at all, that was, for me, that was a bit of a takeaway that really stuck with me. And also trying to reshape that, the conversation around the wage and the challenge in building that out, because people were really, really focused on what's the pay, and didn't really look at the next steps, which are a huge part of the benefits of working in the public sector, are those resources for planning for retirement and work-life balance and things like that. So that really came out in that focus group. In the job seeker focus group, one thing that jumped out at me was we had a very experienced participant in there who had worked in private trucking for years and had advanced his career there. And one of the questions we had was, did you ever consider just going and working at an agency? He's worked with people from agencies all over the state for years and years. And did you ever think about taking your CDL and going and instead of driving an over-the-road truck, coming and working for a local agency and staying home at night? And he's like, yeah, that never really occurred to me. And so why? Why did that never occur to you? And he's like, well, I don't know. He couldn't kind of make his way in there. And that really helped to inform, I thought, how we shape the language and the presentation on this for, showing people that public sector careers have a suite of advantages and benefits that are not going to hit that can't be competitive with that pay rate. But overall, when you look at the whole package, that is really something that resonates with people and can be used to keep people in careers in local agencies.
I saw another question come in the Q&A, Amber, so I'll flip it back over to you.
Okay, great. So another question is asking kind of the scope of what is posted. So the person is wondering if this is primarily focused on engineering careers in transportation, or if this is broader, looking at recruitment and retention for positions in planning, human resources, accounting, or other positions.
I'd say both. So when we created the roadmaps, those are specific to certain jobs. So the roadway maintenance workers, and then we have the civil engineering technicians. But when it comes to those other pieces, the LTAP or the local agency career brochure, the recruitment toolkit, the communication guides, those are broad. Those are, let's just let people know about these great careers within their, in their neighborhood. They can stay, work, and serve your community. So those are definitely those are the broad. That's just trying to, in general, helping local agencies to recruit people to come to see what they're about. You can start one way in one position and you can move into another very easily. We highlight a variety of larger agencies. You might have more specific job titles, whereas a smaller agency, one job title might be 5 different ones at a large agency. So we were just trying to show that when you're in there, you can really move and really create your own destiny. And that's one reason we love to showcase individuals through LTAP, and then now on the web page of the Minnesota Transportation Careers website, because it shows people's career paths, what got them interested in working for where they're at, and then where they are now with their education that they were receiving on the job. So we try to do both within these projects.
Yeah. That's a good point. So although, this project really is specific on transportation maintenance professionals and helping to fill the gap in recruitment and retention in that area, because it is through LTAP, it does tie into all those other pieces that Catherine just said.
Great. Another question that came in, is there any cost to posting jobs on the LTAP careers site?
No, no cost.
No, we designed it so that it would be easy for the folks who, had to fill out that form in a minute or less, and very, very a simple process on our side to make sure that we can update that and maintain that job board with minimal cost and effort. So we can just do that within our everyday operations.
Perfect. Any other questions? Yeah, Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, well, if there's not other questions from the group, I'll have kind of one final question just to, I think all good research lends itself to kind of the next research. So I would just be curious, Catherine and John, kind of what you see as next steps for the work that you've done, and I'll kind of leave it at that.
Well, I think it's an ongoing evolution. When it comes to like the funding through LRB, it's a grassroots effort. So like a project has to rise up through, and so in 2 years we might get another one that they want us to focus on. But by integrating all these projects into Minnesota LTAP, we're continually growing it. So we're going to be bringing new things on all the time. Wherever we need we need to be focused on construction inspection, we'll start creating stuff for there. So we're always, it's an evolving every year we're adding new things, reevaluating the programming. So it's hard for me to say exactly where we're going to be, but we're really guided by what our partners are telling us.
John, do you have any thoughts on what you'd like to see next?
Yeah, thanks. I just was building on what Catherine was saying. Like LTAP as a program is all about developing people's careers, and so I can see a pathway in if that student or that job seeker comes in through our mntransportationcareers.com website. They make some connections at a local agency. Eventually, they end up doing an internship or they take a job, and then they're tracking in there. And then LTAP provides those ongoing resources, as Catherine said, through this sort of continuous improvement, evaluation, reevaluation, to get people trained in those areas where they can continue to advance their careers. And there's programs within LTAP that then I can just envision this student that comes in as an intern. And we've heard these stories through the program too, which is really cool. But a student that comes on interested in a presentation in a high school, and then they take a job at a local agency. And then pretty soon they've got a cool idea for a way to clear out a culvert if they modified such and such a machine in the shop in such a way. And then we have programs through LTAP with Build a Better Mousetrap or Opera that help to support those innovations. So these young people that we heard from in the focus group that are saying, I'm interested in technology and I'm interested in prestige and I'm interested in having my ideas listened to. There are tracks within LTAP to address those types of things for people at whatever age and whatever career stage there are that want to move and learn new things through the program.
Great. We had one more question, Katie, if it's okay, if you don't mind, that came in through the chat. Are you looking for positions at all levels, including entry, or should these only be high-level positions that require some sort of experience?
Except everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to take that as a question about the job board, and we're happy to post anything. So internships, work study, limited duration, whatever it might be. Our goal is and I should have said this in the presentation, but number one is to get the job seeker in touch with the folks and the employers and the job seekers together. That's number one. Number two is that job board does provide HR professionals with an opportunity to see what their neighbors are doing. So I really like the way that Otter Tail County is positioning this maintenance job. And instead of calling it, I'm just going to make something up, like Technician 3, or whatever kind of government-y thing it is that is the name of the job, maybe there's a cool working title and some more inviting language that they're using. And you like the way that they shape promoting working at their agency. And you can bring that into your own pieces and parts of whatever works for you at your county, city, township, or tribe to co-opt that and use it for your own purposes. So that's a secondary, aim of that job board, is to just be that resource for people for HR professionals and public works teams that are posting their own jobs.
Kind of similar to what is possible to be posted. Can MnDOT or state agencies post, or can it only be cities and counties?
We're focused on local positions, but when it's those things that are like MnDOT currently has a program to develop for civil engineering students or students interested in civil engineering internships coming up in the summer of 2025. That's a great place to just put the link to their site, and CTS partners on this too, and our site to just drive people into that sort of thing. But the real focus of it is those transportation maintenance career positions, but at any level, seasonal. We've posted a lot this last summer that were seasonal positions, or anything from public works director to seasonal laborer.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, I'll turn it back over to Katie for the next part of the webinar.
Great. Thanks. And thanks everyone for the great questions and discussion. And can feel free to reach out to the presenters as well if you have follow-up conversations. We're going to save kind of the end of the webinar here for any just kind of round robin updates. So kind of turn it over to anyone on the call. If you have something you want to share about work that you are doing related to education and engagement at your organization, or helping to address issues or challenges related to education and engagement at your organization. And thanks, Sam, for putting the questions in the chat. Or any just organizational updates to share, and kind of what ideas you have for potential council meetings. As we mentioned at the beginning, this council is a forum to bring people together from within the transportation industry to talk about interesting projects, talk about kind of shared challenges and opportunities. So yeah, if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can share your update verbally. Or if you want to put an update in the chat, we can also read those out loud. But this is just really a time for this group to connect and share anything that might be relevant. I see Shannon noted in the chat that MnDOT does have a permanent link to the career site on there is a permanent link to the MnDOT career site on the mntransportationcareers.com job board. So there is at least a cross-reference there to kind of follow up on the last question. Does anyone have any updates or things they're working on or organizational changes? Well, I guess with that, we can maybe end a little bit early here today.
I think there's a hand up. Yeah, but
oh,
and now, Adrian, are you able to talk?
I did not have a question. Sorry.
Do you have an update or a round robin item you want to share?
I don't today, but this is great information. So thank you.
I see another hand up in the chat. If we could, I think you're able to speak now. If you want to introduce yourself and give us your update,
this
that'd
is,
be great.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Shanta Hejmadi. I'm from Metro Transit in Minneapolis, St. Paul. One thing so I do a lot of work around data analysis for workforce in my job. And I've been to a number of conferences recently and then started doing some various other analysis of our recruiting data and our other just like current workforce data. And one of the conclusions that I'm sort of like steering more and more towards is that we're really, as an industry, we're missing the boat on female and gender expansive candidates. That was me that asked that question earlier. Like when we a recent recruitment that I analyzed, we had less than 25% of candidates that did not identify as male. And so it's like we're leaving a quarter of the population on the table here. And when you look at the numbers of just folks in these trades positions, they're just so few female people in these positions. And then when you think about the barriers that exist, like think about childcare and scheduling and attendance policies and how attendance policies impact your ability to get a promotion depending on the rules in your union. And do you feel safe going to the bathroom? Are maternity uniforms covered? There's like this whole laundry list of things that can make workplaces in the trades feel really unwelcoming to people who may identify as not cis male. And I feel like that I think is someplace where I'm hoping that more research in this space can start looking at. I'm kind of in a place where I don't even really know where to start right now, but I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate your insights. I think we can take that note as we think about future topics for kind of this council to discuss and potentially future research problem statements that should be proposed through different avenues. But appreciate the feedback and kind of the thought for us all to think as we go forward. I don't know, Catherine or John or Amber, if you've got any follow up on that.
No, but yeah, I think it is further research in that area is needed. I can tell you when the college students went on their tour, the first thing they asked was where's the women's restroom? Because there was no women's
Exactly.
restroom in the shop area. So and they're like, well, because no women applied. And they're like, well, maybe that's why they don't apply. So Gen Z gets it, right? So I think it really made even Public Works and Golden Valley kind of take a step back and think about that because they never had to think about that before. So I think there is conversations there and research that definitely is something to be explored. I don't know where that funding would come from, but really appreciate your insights on that.
Yeah, I mean the way that I came back from the last conference I went to thinking about it is like we don't have a manpower problem. We have a woman power problem and we don't even know that we have it.
I think I'll definitely kind of take that topic and think through kind of how a future one of these council meetings or some of the work that the councils do can maybe help advance that or help kind of bring that conversation more to the forefront in the future. Marie, I think you can give your update too if you're still there. Might have lost Marie.
Oh, Gina. She's
Hello, can you hear me?
Gina, yes.
Okay, great. So I wanted to go back to Shanta's comment. I was just on a meeting or a work group call before I hopped on here, and MnDOT and Driver Vehicle Services at Department of Public Safety are leading a CDL workforce task group, and they're required to, and it's focused on sort of is there a shortage uh, of people with CDLs, and what does that look like? How do we encourage more people to get into that industry? And that their report to the it was legislatively mandated. Their report is due February 1st. And I think that could potentially be a good topic for a webinar for this council, and it would tie nicely. And it's not just about truck drivers, right? It is, I think we can throw other um, jobs and roles in that require a CDL, but in 2025, the focus for CTS, or our theme, is going to be unpacking freight. And so that might be something, Katie and Amber, to think about for a topic that this council could cover during 2025.
Great, thanks, Gina. I think we can take that note down and on kind of maybe make it a future webinar. Maria, I think you're back.
Oh yeah, hi. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No worries.
My Zoom shut off when I was just talking, and then I realized I was out before. So hey, I do have some exciting news to share. And so some people were asking questions about like diversity, outreach, right, in this sort of like this trades area in general, and looking at how we can get the word out. We at the city of Minneapolis have funded a new apprenticeship outreach office. It is on the north side of Minneapolis. And we actually have our counterparts throughout the state of Minnesota and other workforce development areas looking at how we've done this. But I want you to know that the office is actually, we have funded them with money to help to do things like solve childcare issues. So if you have an apprentice or somebody who wants to be an apprentice, and that one of those barriers, they could very well be a non-traditional candidate, a woman, someone just in general that we don't see in the field coming in. The thing is that, a lot of times there are more supports that are needed in just a variety of different ways to help people to stay in those apprenticeship programs. They could be financial, they could be other cost barriers, they could be around childcare resources. And our apprenticeship outreach office is here to help to support all of that work, to find those access points in, and to help with those are registered apprentices to really secure and stay in apprenticeship all the way through completion. Is a brand new offering that is over here, particularly on the north side of Minneapolis, where there's really a deficit of information about not only transportation careers, but careers in the trades and actually these just different professions across the board. So this is a navigation and support service. And so I do just want to also say I can certainly send information over. We have a one-page flyer and a QR code. So if you're a professional looking for resources, if you're a counselor, if you're working as a guidance counselor in the school, or you're supporting those folks, or just if you're a person to look at how I can get into apprenticeship, this navigator role is here to assist, and they are not exclusive to the city of Minneapolis. This service is going to be available more widely, but is a template for engagement to really help to address those more individualized concerns that we've been talking about here. So I will send you over information on that, but just an FYI to everybody on the call. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that update. I think that sounds like a very interesting topic. So appreciate you sending stuff over. And then, I don't know, maybe there's like the formulation of a future webinar happening on this call right now between some of these updates that we could dive into more on some of these examples and approaches people are using to diversify the workforce and candidates.
Thank you.
Any other updates that people have? I don't see any more in the chat, so I guess absent any others,
I saw earlier that Shannon had her hand raised. I was wondering if she got her question answered.
All right. All right. Well, I think we can maybe end a few minutes early here today, but just wanted to thank everyone, John and Catherine, for your presentation. I think it was really insightful for the group and interesting to learn about your work. And then for all the participants for the great discussion and your attendance today. I really appreciate the interest in the topic and in the council, and look for more information on future council meetings, and hope to connect with and interact with you all going forward. So thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.